Gallup has been surveying people for a very long time about their political ideologies, male and female, generationally. And you hear all the time that the younger you are, the more progressive you are, except the Gallop poll suggests otherwise. In particular, the percentage of young men who identify as a Republican. In 2013, 38% of men aged 18 to 29 identified as Republican. In 2013, 38% of men 18 to 29 identified as Republican. Do you know what it is now? 49%. That's right. 49% of men 18 to 29, 49%, about half of young men in America now identify themselves as Republicans. Now, you should know that includes leaners, so people who identify as conservative but not affiliated with party. They've been lumped in with the with Republicans. So 49% of independents who lean conservative and right, and Republicans, 49% of young men. That's from Gallup, striking numbers, 38% in 2013. By 2017, it was only 39. It was by 2020, 44%, 49% in 2023. Correspondingly, I don't think it's a coincidence. The fall off in men going to college. What we've seen in the last 2 decades, really in the last decade, is an increased hostility towards masculinity. And the counterpoint here is I follow a wide range of people on Twitter, and the conservative gym bros have to be the most annoying demographic of people I follow. But they've embraced the whole idea of my body as a temple, and God bless them, they're in better shape than me, but they're obnoxious. And you're not really a man unless you're going to the gym every day and trying to define what a man is. These people clearly have daddy issues themselves. But ultimately what it's about is the feminist movement and academia and the elite in this country have devalued what it means to be a man. Just watch culturally. Watch on television. On television, the dad more often than not is the butt of jokes still. And there is a backlash against that elite belittling of what it means to be a man. Relatedly to all of this, today is my friend Rush Limbaugh's 73rd birthday. Happy birthday, Rush. There's a story out in the newspapers that while California is now planning on punishing parents who refuse to accept their child's gender identity, and California wants to embrace genital mutilation of children who've decided they're going through a phase and decide that they're trans. California is also trying to get rid of tackle football for elementary schools. They want to ban tackle football and move it to flag football. Years ago on the radio, Rush Limbaugh predicted this. Rush predicted that by the time the left was finished, the NFL would be a flag football game. We're headed in that direction. And part of it is this wrapping our children in bubble wrap now. You can't leave them outside. The idea of a feral child, my goodness. All of us Gen Xers were left outside all day and had to drink from the hose. And now kids, you got to put them in bubble wrap and put a GPS tracker around their ankle just to make sure they're okay. And God forbid they play tackle football. And there's a backlash happening culturally among young men. Young women, interestingly enough, are more split. Men are more and more, 50-50. They're becoming conservative. But Rui Deira has this piece out, the Progressive Youth Shamira. Just how progressive are today's youth? It's fair to say that compared to older generations that generally lean more left on most issues are more likely to say they're liberal and more likely to support Democrat, but that's a relative assessment. It doesn't follow logically that the entire generation is progressive. This potential problem's been thrown into relief by recent poll findings that show the youth vote lagging considerably for Democrats. Some polls even show Biden behind Trump among voters under 30. Data from the split ticket analysis site based on an average of December cross-tabular data shows Biden carrying the 18 to 29-year-olds by 11 points, a 12-point pro-Trump shift. What gives? Well, it turns out that kids aren't as progressive as people seem to say. The overwhelming majority identify as moderate to conservative, 65%. The level of self-declared liberalism is higher than among other age groups, but it's not even close to majority sentiment. When given a list of political labels to choose from, only 22% say progressive. On immigration, 49% under 30 consider Biden more liberal than them on the issue. 46% consider Biden more liberal on the border. Most of the voters think the U.S. should take in fewer refugees and asylum seekers, and more think the U.S. should be stricter rather than looser in granting asylum. On trans issue, 48% of the voters, this is Gen Z, consider Biden more liberal than them. And by 10 points, under 30 voters oppose the idea that transgender individuals should be allowed to play on sports teams that do not match their birth gender. On crime, 40% think Biden is more liberal than them. On oil and gas exploration, 45% think they do. And that's the plurality. The left doesn't have a majority on any of these positions. If you listen to the press, they would have you believe that Gen Z is the most progressive group, and it turns out a majority of Gen Z is opposed to transgender issues. 45% of them support fossil fuel exploration. 49% of them want to seal the border. They're as conservative as you and me on these issues by and large, but you wouldn't know that from the left. And the reason is because the bubble in the media, they are coming up from this generation and they're progressive. And so they've decided everyone who looks like them must think like them too. And it's not true. It's not true at all. For those of you who are freaked out about the future because you keep hearing that the kids these days are so progressive, actually the data shows that a majority of them consider themselves moderates, and in fact a majority of them are opposed to transgender rights, and a majority of them want to seal the border. Doesn't sound very progressive to me, but you're not hearing that in the media, are you? Because it's all about a narrative, and the narrative is the young are getting more progressive, and the data actually shows completely the opposite.